क्या हो
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to another episode of Empowering Morning Conversations. So we want you to be so empowered that you go out and create a day that is full of joy and ease and glory. We want the day to be so inspiring that you're going to create a wonderful adventure, another adventure that our life is. We're going to help you to get out of your automatic default mode and get into a create mode so that you create the life that you always dreamed of. I want you to remember, there have been so many dreams that we just gave up on. We never even went forward to pursue it. I remember when I was a small child, I one day told my dad, I said, Dad, one day we should have this telephone that goes in our pocket and you can take it everywhere. And he says, you idiot, stop imagining things. Dharti pe raho, be practical. So fine, but I was a young kid and I was not to be stopped. Then another day, we had this old Murphy radio. So I looked at the radio and I said, Daddy, one day we should be able to see pictures in this, just like we go to a hall and see pictures. And he said, I told you to stop coming out with stupid ideas. And I'm just thinking that how much of creativity and how much of vision that a child has, which he could have pursued and made into reality, but he just gave it up. Nobody said, okay, beta, how to make this possible? Let's find out. Okay. So in that manner, we got into this business of survival because my dad said, go and study. Have you learnt your tables? Right? Because for me, that tables was survival. Baba, if you don't learn the tables, you will get one thappad in the evening. Because daddy is going to ask you. So it became about survival, You better learn something, otherwise daddy is going to get angry with you. And so on and so forth. So the question to ask ourselves is, how many of our dreams have we given up on? Because we did not find anyone to be the wind beneath our wings and to encourage us. Or we had people in our life who were so busy surviving themselves that they were not even thinking of any other way of living than the survival mode. So out of their love for us, they thought better teach the child to be in the survival mode, not in the create mode, because create mode is dangerous. See, it's not that they did not know about courageous people who changed the world. They knew it, right? I mean, if I look at my own father, he was not an ordinary person like the Sadharan Adami. In the year 1947, Sardarji wanting to get married and got married to a Malayali lady means he's an unusual person, right? So obviously he'll give birth to an unusual son only. But at the same time, survival mode. And I remember that he was in the armed forces and he was definitely not one of those people who was always doing what he was told, because you're supposed to. He was willing to challenge ideas and challenge people, right? And because he did that, people were not, his senior officers were not so happy with him. Ke bhai Malvai saab jo hai, always questions and he always, wants to know why he should do what he's been asked to do. So slowly that was beaten out of him. And naturally by transfer, he was beating it out of me too, because he never wanted me to make the same mistake in your life, which I made. So what's the opportunity lost for us? The opportunity to fly without fear, which we were capable of, and learning Because each person's situation is different, right? The world was different when they were there. The world was different when I was there. The world is so different now. Sometimes for people like me and Ratanji, who are of a elder generation, it becomes hard for us to understand this emoji wala generation and so much tech savvy. Thank God I'm tech savvy, and I've always kept myself up to date on that. But you look at these youngsters, man, they are way beyond. I mean, every month there's new tech, they know it. It takes me 6 months to catch up with them. And for some people, it takes 6 years to catch up with them. Why is that? Because we are so busy surviving with our old habits and old ways of thinking. So if we continue to be in that default mode, that's the other simple way of saying old ways of thinking, old habits, old patterns. Okay? And that's what we are stuck in for so many years. And when we hope that my life will be different, hello, how can our life be different if you do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results? Can it be different? If you do the same thing over and over again, but sir, we are coming to EMC every morning over and over again. But you know something, EMC is never the same every day, correct? Even Kunain is not the same every day. Today he's making faces on every sentence that I say. Right? So that's a new. I'm wondering whether it's a real Kunain out there or some avatar of... nowadays on the virtual world, you can create your avatar also, you know. And the quality of the avatar is he will always keep nodding his head and doing all that stuff. So that's what the journey is, to discover our own path, to create our own life, and to break out our boundaries and make choices instead of making decisions every day. All right? And if you want to do that, you will have to disrupt your old ways of thinking. You will have to disrupt your default mode. All right? That is what our topic for today is. And to introduce that topic, a topic very close to the heart of the gentleman. So we have a guest speaker today, right? And this guest speaker is not a stranger to us, you know. We've been seeing him for a long, long time, right? He's one of those unusual, extraordinary human beings who gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning in England, right? To be a part of Empowering Morning Conversations. And every time he comes to Empowering Morning Conversations, I feel that we all are honored by him. Because somebody taking so much trouble to come, right, just to be with us, right? Now you may say, all right, he's getting something, that's why he's coming. No, I don't look at it that way. There are many ways for him to get something, right? He's chosen to be with us. So it's quite an honor for us. And let me introduce you to this gentleman. He was born in 1946. Wow. And he did his schooling in a school called St. Michael's School in Mahim in Mumbai. All right. He left Mumbai at the age of 20 with only $8. In, you know, there was the time when Indian government used to give only $8. There was even a song about that. Around the world in $8. I'm sure he was inspired by that. And he went to Hong Kong. So Shakti came to your city when he was 20 years old. Wow. And he started a business over there, or his career started over there. Where? In Hong Kong. So he picked up some very interesting Chinese habits from there. And he took all those habits and migrated in 1974 to the United States. And there he got married to his wife, Shalini, the same year. My good God. And he had 2 boys in 76 and 78. And then he moved on to the UK in 1981, and he's been there all these years. 2006, you know what he does? Another extraordinary thing, he hands over all his business to his sons. And now he chooses to live in Bandra in Mumbai, right? And he's made some good friends over here. Some of them are there on this call also. And he's pursuing the world of spirituality, the world of consciousness, and he's almost completed his journey to be an access consciousness facilitator. So it gives me pleasure to welcome and honor Mr. Ratan Wadhwani. So welcome, Mr. Wadhwani, and we're looking forward with bated breath to hear what you have to say.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind words and very favorable introduction to me. And I would today my aim is to make everybody experience a form of meditation which is not mine as such, but I have integrated few things that I've learned in the last 40 years. Meditation is just being quiet in the body, relax the body and quiet in the mind. And there are millions of ways to achieve that. But I believe, in the beginning, you need some instructions, or just like we want to learn driving, we get an instructor and he gives us 5 lessons or 10 lessons or whatever required. And then we formulate our own style of driving. For every million drivers, there are a million ways of habits being acquired over the years. So there's no such thing as one way of meditation. Every person develops his own way according to his background, according to his bringing up, and according to different cultures. So let's start for 1 minute only, which I will keep on repeating as more and more people will join. And it's a very simple thing I do, but I call it, I introduce some hacks into it. So first of all, let the 2 big toes touch each other lightly. We start from the bottom, we touch the toes very lightly, not the whole feet, just the toes. This is one way of completing a circuit, physical circuit. You're grounded. And then the thumb and 2 fingers, we touch very lightly, the 2 fingers and the thumb. And this I learned from a Pandit when they are doing Havan. We pick up the samagri of the Havan with these 2-3 fingers and offer it to God, over the samagri to the fire. So my interpretation of that is I'm offering my weaknesses to the fire of knowledge. That's number 2. And number 3, we touch the tongue to the upper palate and keep a very small opening between the teeth. The teeth shouldn't touch each other. So that's the only few things that you have to follow. And then gently close your eyes, let the thoughts come and go. Don't fight the thoughts, don't entertain the thoughts. They will come, they will go. And let's begin.
You're muted. Ratan, we cannot hear you.
No, there's nothing to hear. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to hear. You just be with yourself for 1 minute.
Be present, God.
Okay, we will repeat it a couple of times before we close. Now I read a text. It's a question and answer form from a book called The First and Last Freedom by J. Krishnamurti. This book was given to me by Kuldeep ji in Pune, and he signed it with warmest regards to Ratanji, K. Chaturvedi, Commodore, 7th June, Kuldeep Chaturvedi, retired. So just like you got the book on last Sunday, which you were seeking, and this was presented to be on 7th. I opened the one of the chapters just by random, and it opened on question and answer on fear. You know, we've been discussing on fear many things, and I'll present to you the version of Krishnamurti. So the question is, how am I to get rid of fear, which influences all my activities? And J. Krishnamurti replies, it's a 3-page in a book form, and it will take a couple of minutes. So Krishnamurti says, what do we mean by fear? Fear of what? There are various types of fear, and we need not analyze every type. But we can see that fear comes into being when our comprehension of relationships is not complete. Relationship is not only between people, but between ourselves and nature, between ourselves and property, between ourselves and ideas. As long as that relationship is not fully understood, there must be fear. Life is relationship. To be is to be related, and without relationship, there is no life. Nothing can exist in isolation. So long as the mind is seeking isolation, there must be fear. Fear is not an abstraction. It exists only in relation to something. The question is how to be rid of fear. First of all, anything that is overcome, anything that is to be overcome has to be conquered again and again. No problem can be finally overcome, conquered. It can be understood but not conquered. There are two completely different processes, and the conquering process leads to further confusion, further fear. To resist, to dominate, to do battle with a problem, or to build a defense system, or to build a defense against fear is only to create further conflict. Whereas if we can understand fear, go into it fully step by step, explore the whole content of it, then fear will never return in any form. As I said, fear is not an abstraction. It exists only in relationship. What do we mean by fear? Ultimately, we are afraid, are we not, of not being, of not becoming. Now, when there is fear of not being, of not advancing, or fear of the unknown, of death, can that fear be overcome by determination, by a conclusion, by any choice? Obviously not. Mere suppression, sublimation, or substitution creates further resistance, does it not? Therefore, fear can never be overcome through any form of discipline, through any form of resistance. The fact must be clearly seen, felt, and experienced. Fear cannot be overcome through any form of defense or resistance, nor can there be freedom from fear through the search for an answer or through mere intellectual or verbal explanation. Now what are we afraid of? Are we afraid of a fact or of an idea about the fact? Are we afraid of the thing as it is, or are we afraid of what we think it is? Take death, for example. Are we afraid of the fact of death or the idea of death? The fact is one thing, and the idea about the fact is another. Am I afraid of the word death, or of the fact itself. Because I'm afraid of the word, of the idea, I never understand the fact. I never look at the fact. I'm afraid in direct relation with the fact. It is only when I'm in complete communion with the fact that there is no fear. If I'm not in communion with the fact, there is fear, and there is no communion with the fact as long as I have an idea, an opinion, a theory about the fact. So I have to be very clear whether I'm afraid of the word, the idea of, or of the fact. If I am face to face with the fact, there is nothing to understand about it. The fact is there, and I can deal with it. If I'm afraid of the word, then I must understand the word, go into the whole process of what the word, the term implies. For example, one is afraid of loneliness, afraid of the ache, the pain of loneliness. Surely that fear exists because one has never really looked at loneliness. One has never been in complete communion with it. The moment one is completely open to the fact of loneliness, one can understand what it is, but one has an idea, an opinion about it based on previous knowledge. It is this idea, opinion, this previous knowledge about the fact that creates fear. Fear is obviously the outcome of naming, of terming, of projecting a symbol to represent the fact. That is fear is not independent of the word, of the term. I have a reaction to say loneliness. That is, I say I'm afraid of being nothing. Am I afraid of the fact itself, or is that fear awakened because I have previous knowledge of the fact? Knowledge being the word, the symbol, the image, with a question. How can there be fear of a fact? When I am face to face with a fact, in direct communion with it, I can look at it, observe it, therefore, there is no fear of the fact. What causes fear is an apprehension about the fact, what the fact might be or do. It is my opinion, my idea, my experience, my knowledge about the fact that creates fear. So long as there is verbalization of the fact, giving the fact a name, and therefore identifying or condemning it, so long as thought is judging the fact as an observer, there must be fear. Thought is the product of the past. It can only exist through verbalization, through symbols, through images. So long as thought is regarding or translating the fact, there must be fear. Thus, it is the mind that creates fear. The mind being the process of thinking. Thinking is verbalization. You cannot think without words, without symbols, images. These images, which are prejudices, the previous knowledge, the apprehensions of the mind, are projected upon the fact. And out of that, there arises fear. There is freedom from fear only when the mind is capable of looking at the fact without translating it, without giving it a name, a label. This is quite difficult because the feelings, the reactions, the anxieties that we have are promptly identified by the mind and given a word. The feeling of jealousy is identified the feeling of jealousy is identified by that word. Is it possible not to identify a feeling, to look at the feeling without naming it? It is the naming of the feeling that gives it continuity that gives it strength. The moment you give a name to that which you call fear, you strengthen it. But if you look at that feeling without terming it, you will see that it withers away. Therefore, it would be completely free of fear. Therefore, if one would be completely free of fear, it is essential to understand the whole process of terming, of projecting symbols, images, giving names to facts. There can be freedom from there can be freedom from fear only when there is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the beginning of wisdom, which is the ending of fear. This is the question and answer by Krishnamurti. So let's do one more time, 1 minute of meditation. The big toes touching each other, the thumb and the two middle fingers, and the tongue touching the palate with space between the teeth. Let's begin. Okay, thank you. Okay, now I've got a short story. Once Fakir went to a palace of a certain kingdom, and the king presented him with a lot of silver, gold, and diamonds. The Fakir said to the king, "Is this yours?" The king got upset and he says, "What do you mean? It's mine." He says, "Have you earned it?" He said, "No." The Fakir says, "I know it's from inheritance from your ancestors. So if it is not yours, I cannot accept it." So then the king says, "Can I present my mind to you?" You know, first is done. You didn't accept. Then he says, "Can I present my mind to you, my man?" The Fakir says, "Is that yours?" Then again, the king says, "What do you mean? Please explain." And the Fakir says, "Are you running the mind, or is the mind running your life? Does your mind obey all the things that you say?" The king was ashamed and he looked down and said, "No, it doesn't obey." So he says, "Can I offer you my body, physical body?" He says, "That is also not yours." Again, the king says, "Please explain." And the Fakir says, "The body is just one semen and one ovary, and it will go back to its 5 elements after you're gone. So it's not yours." So the king was perplexed and he says, "Oh, master, tell me what I can offer you. My mind is not mine, my body is not mine, my treasure is not mine. What will please you?" So he says, "Give me the 5 weaknesses that you have in your mind, mind, body, intellect, whatever. The 5 weaknesses being Kam, Krodh, Moh, Lobh, Ahankar, so which is lust, pride, all these 5 vices. The Fakir says, "You give it to me, and then you're free. Give me the 5, and you're free to do what you want. But blessings are with you." That's one of the things that have always I remember quite often. And now could I ask Samina to recite a poem It's called On His Blindness by John Milton. And this is also one poem that has stuck with me since high school. Then we just had to recite it, learn it by heart and recite it, but we never understood the meaning. But over and over again, I just remember the one last line of the poem, which says, "He serves best who stands and waits."
Great.
Yeah. So could I request Sabina to read the poem, please?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Here I am with John Milton's poem, and we've also studied Paradise Lost. But here today, the poem is about, on his blindness and how when one sense of ours is taken away, what is the feeling that the poet goes through. So here I read it. On his blindness, when I consider how my life is spent, ere half my days in this dark, wide world. And that one talent, which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent, to serve therewith my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Doth God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent. That murmur soon replies, God doth not hear either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speak, and passed over land and post over land and ocean without rest. And the last line, what he said, they also serve who only stand and wait. They also serve who only stand and wait. Thank you, everyone.
Uh, John Milton continued to write poems, and his two daughters would take notes and make the poems. And his best poems came after he lost his sight. I believe he lost two eyes, but his third eye opened up, and he did the best after he lost his, our so-called sight. But he probably had the vision to do a lot of good things, and he carried on doing that. So then what I would like to say is to one of the simplest ways to come out of the default mode is prayer, sajda, yoga. Yoga asanas actually prepare our body to meditate. The energy that flows in while we meditate has to be absorbed by the body, and that's why we do physical drill or yoga asanas before we really want to meditate. It just makes a body supple. So and this meditation that I'm doing, I can do anywhere in the world, anywhere, in the plane, in the car, in the bus, because I'm not uttering anything, and I'm just closing my eyes and doing whatever I'm doing. And I don't have a fixed time to do it. I'll do whenever it feels I require some energy, I'll do it. It's something like filling the piggy bank. In UK, we have a piggy bank, literally a clay piggy bank, where me, my wife, and children, whenever we get £2 coin, which is kind of rare in circulation, we just put it in the piggy bank. And at every Diwali, we just open the piggy bank and give it to charity. So like here also, you can take the 10 rupees coin and the 20 rupees coin, which is just started in circulation, and put it in a bank, a piggy bank. But similarly, if if anybody does this kind of yoga, 1 minute, let's say after waking up, 1 minute after breakfast, 1 minute after lunch, 1 minute after dinner, and 1 minute before sleeping, you're all set. You don't have to do 30 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours as prescribed by some pundits and scholars. So this is my way of integrating all the things and being, if nothing else, I have the power to be in good health without taking any allopathy medicine. So this is my like a magic bullet. Whenever I require internal strength, I do this for a minute and I'm okay. So that's one of the things. And now I would request you to stop recording and ask Puneem to play the song, please.
Thank you, Ratanji. Sir, can you make me co-host?
You are a co-host, I think.
Thank you, sir.
You're not. Okay, now you're a co-host.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you. This was from the movie Jaagte Raho, which was made in 1956. So I was only 10 years old at that time, but it has stuck into my brain, So I went with the flow. Wherever the Lord takes me, the universe takes me, I just go with the flow. That is one of my good songs that I remember. And there's one saying in Sikh, a small paragraph in Sikhism, which has also stuck with me since I went to Lagos, Nigeria in 1994. I attended Guru Granth Path, and after the Path, they kept on repeating, Karam na jana, dharam na jana, सार न जाना तेरी, सबते वड्डा सतगुरु नानक, जिन कल राखी मेरी. And for a long time, I did not know the correct meaning of Jin Kal Rakhi Meri. What is Kal means. I kept on repeating, but I said, I'll ask one Panthi one day, which I did about 15 years back in London. And I told him, what does this mean? Jin Kal Rakhi Meri. So he says, Kal, K-A-L, in this context means honor. I bow down to Sadhguru Nanak, who has kept my honor. So that is one thing also that stuck into my brain. These are the few things which I wanted to share. And one more time, the meditation, this time it can be as long as you want there to be, not 1 minute as such, 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever your body allows. So same thing, touch, let the, for the benefit of people who have joined or not heard before, let the big toes touch each other, and then let the fingers, the thumb and the middle two fingers, the ring finger and the middle finger. Yeah, correct. And then put it on your hips, and the tongue touching the upper palate, and the teeth not touching each other. So this, the touching of the toes is like completing the physical circuit, and the keeping the tongue on the palate and not touching the teeth is like another circuit breaker. The mind, we tell the mind, I want to be with myself now, just leave me alone. So even if the mind disturbs, let the thoughts come and let it go. Say, thank you very much, I'll see you later. So let's begin. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again for giving me an opportunity to share what I have in mind. Back to you, Sukhdeep.
Thank you, Ratanji, for being the disruptor today. A nice session, wonderful session, and the meditation is particularly very, very, very useful. Makes one feel very centered, very calm, very peaceful. And I like it that we can do it anywhere, anytime. So thank you very much for your nuggets of wisdom this morning. So
Thank
that
you.
brings us to a fitting finale to the Empowering Morning Conversation for this morning. Thank you all. Thank you for your participation. And we look forward to more people coming in as guests and speaking on designated days. Thank you, Kunen, for your contribution. Thank you, Samina, for your contribution. And I like this. Now, I think we're going to call ourselves the disruptors.
In a nice way.
You have already disrupted our life.
Disruption, nice or bad, doesn't matter.
No, like Gandhiji started the Satyagraha of salt. So that was disrupting. It was disrupting for English, but it benefited the whole nation.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I mean. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank
We
you.
are the disruptors. We are disrupting our default mode.
Right.
On and on. And Kunen, now you are becoming the official person. You are replacing Vetrivel as the Joker. And you should make faces all the time when we are.
But it was you who disrupted all of our life 425 days before.
So thank you all. God bless you. Have a wonderful, adventurous, extraordinary day.
कुलदीप सर से कुछ सुनते तो जाएं सर.
अरे हाँ, शेर तो सुनना है. कुलदीप जी आए हैं आज. Oh, very good. Thanks for reminding me. That's the very, very important part of our.
आज आपका ध्यान कहीं और है.
मेरा ध्यान है कि 7:45 हो गया है. Because I promised Vetri that we'll finish at 7:45. That's why. Yes, Kuldeep ji. And Major Narayan and everybody, I want you to know that the sessions will start at 7 and end at 7:45. And most often they will end at 7:30 also. So it will be useful to come on time. So
fine, sir.
Again, it's good to see your shining, energetic face in the morning. Yes, Kuldeep ji.
Sir, good morning, friends. कुछ लाइनें हैं, पेश करता हूँ. कह रहे हैं, झांक रहे हैं इधर उधर सब, झांक रहे हैं इधर उधर सब, अपने अंदर झांके कौन. ढूंढ रहे दुनिया में कमियां, अपने मन को ताके कौन. और दुनिया सुधरे सब चिल्लाते, दुनिया सुधरे सब चिल्लाते, खुद को आज सुधारे कौन. पर उपदेश कुशल बहुतेरे, पर उपदेश कुशल बहुतेरे, खुद पर आज विचारे कौन. और लास्ट लाइन, हम सुधरेंगे तो जग सुधरेगा, हम सुधरेंगे तो जग सुधरेगा, इसको भी स्वीकारे कौन.
Superb. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Kunen.
बहुत अच्छा सर, मैं भी सुधर रहा हूँ.
Thank you.
तुम्हारा जरा हंसमुख रूप दिखाई दे रहा है. It's very good.
सुधरने का वादा कर रहा हूँ. ये आज का शेर मैं क्या सुनाऊं जनाब. रतन जी ने कुछ छोड़ा ही नहीं है. रतन जी, salute to you sir for a powerful, inspiring session. So 2 lines for you sir. I came to know that you travel many places. You are bit far from me. अर्ज किया है कि दूर रह के वो, दूर अगर वो है हमसे तो क्या हुआ, दूर अगर वो हमसे है तो क्या हुआ, धड़कन उसके दिल की सुन सकता हूं मैं.
Wow.
धड़कन उसके दिल की सुन सकता हूं मैं. रतन जी, you are far away from all of us, and we all are far away from all of us, but I can feel your dhadkan, I can listen your dhadkan, I can feel your presence in my heart, sir. So thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
And see you
Bye-bye.
for another enchanting, exciting, disruptive, empowering morning conversation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.